Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. Things in the economy are getting worse and worse, and there is no solution. Whether it's the dollar collapsing, whether it's the wars, whether it's pollution, things are not getting any better. And a lot of people want to prepare against this. So a lot of us do come into the market from this SHTF survivalist preparing mind state. And today this article is talking about Bitcoin, gold, silver, and Armageddon. It's talking about the SHTF situation. A lot of people who are preppers, who are, people who want to, at least be prepared if something does happen, whether it is the end of the world, whether it is Armageddon, whether it's just, learning about this stuff. And this intertwines precious metals as well, which is a very interesting article. I think you guys will enjoy it. I know a lot of you guys do come in from the SHTF survivalist standpoint because silver and gold would be the best form of bartering, like it has been historically over the past 6,000 years. So anyways, the link to this article will be in the description. I definitely think this is an interesting and very important topic to bring up, because if you are a realist and do acknowledge and are aware of what's really happening behind the scenes, then this is definitely a relevant topic. So anyways, it starts off to say, it will seem strange to many, but there are a lot of people preparing for the end of the world. It's not just the prepper community that has Armageddon anxiety. It's quite a common thing. Who is to blame anyone for expecting the worst when the media pours out a never-ending flood of doom and gloom and desperately upsetting news? You must be desensitized, thick-skinned, tough as nails, or extremely carefree to be able to consume what the media throws at you and not end up at least taking some notice of the never-ending cascade of an end-of-times news stories. If global warming isn't going to get us, or it should be global warming, an asteroid isn't going to strike, a plague thawing from Siberian ice sheets about to sift us down, or it will be the Civil War in America, the collapse of the dollar, peak oil, no oxygen in the oceans, the 1% pantheon of local international politicians, terrorists, dirty bombs, or perhaps much predicted second coming itself that will Holocaust. And it's not surprising that there is a whole demi-mod of enterprises supplying the salve of the anxious audience. A 1 year's worth of food supply for 4 people can be yours for only $5,000. Not many people take the end of the world survival that seriously, and it would make for a tricky storage problem for a city dweller who might have to sacrifice their second bedroom or all available closet space to have such reserves close at hand. So for many, the answer is to stick to gold in stock, and the only ticket out of trouble after the mobs are marauding after the plague-carrying asteroid is struck. Sadly, there is a bad miscalculation, as many sad cases discovered during the Second World War. A gold coin might buy you a bar of soap or nothing at all if the nightmare scenario are somewhat delirious about where to strike. So gold is not good for much in extreme circumstances. If you are going down this road and planning the worst, you need to think in terms of gradients. Level 1, economic dislocation. So Bitcoin, gold, silver. If you laid this in for such an outcome, when all these instruments will spike, 2007, 2008 crisis, the key issue is counterparty risk. Bitcoin, which is BTC, and platinum group metals, PMGs, are a good way of keeping your assets out of the hands of counterparties that might implode. Talking about banks and stuff like that, or these exchanges that could easily pump and dump or take your money. Bitcoin is faster to transact and easier to hold than gold and silver, but it takes sense to hold some of all. And what if there was a power outage? All of your Bitcoin's gone. So that's stuff I also want to mention. Bitcoin could be something because it is global, but in the sense of an SHTF scenario, especially if there is no power, then you cannot access your money, your funds. So anyways, level 2 is personal dislocation. Bitcoin need to bug out because the walls are closing in. Bitcoin is the way to go. Taking much gold through the airport is not going to work, which is interesting. So this is kind of comparing and contrasting, Bitcoin, gold, and silver. So widespread war. Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Silver is probably the favorite here because silver, especially silver coins, are great for small transactions. Gold is too high a value for most transactions and flashy. Bitcoin is useful because it can work globally. It is an easy carry. But the thing with Bitcoin is I just could not see Bitcoin actually being a plausible or a realistic thing in an SHTF situation. I just couldn't. I mean, you would have to have power. It's interesting that this article is. I don't agree with everything in these articles. I still want to share it because it still brings up great topics and stuff like that. Especially when we can compare, we can be open minded, and maybe he does make some good points, as he already has, that I've never thought about. Anyways, losing the side of the widespread war, Bitcoin and some silver. The risk of being plundered or having it appropriated is high. So once again, BTC comes out on top. Level 5, the big one. As the nuclear winter falls, the plague-ridden zombies make their final onslaught as the aliens' black smoke sweeps all. There's probably no point in preparing. Yet, if you want to prepare, bags of old silver dimes, 1/10 or 10th ounce gold eagles, and SD card with some Bitcoin on it is the way to go. Like almost all predictions, doom-laden predictions at some point in time might prove right enough that you're happy to have 1% of your portfolio positioned for a ghastly emergency. The worst that emergency would get, the higher value of small chunk of your portfolio would become. So it is not necessary to have a half a ton of silver in your basement, approximately $500,000. But if the future of mankind is troubling, you might make sense to sock away some silver, gold, and Bitcoin if you buy you peace of mind. Peace of mind, after all, is a big fat dividend that pays out all year. So, a lot of stuff that this article does not go into that I really need to talk about. Because, one, Bitcoin is an extremely risky investment. It's complicated. It has many flaws. It's basically in a rough draft beta stage, and we've learned that. We've learned a lot about that. Now, if you're going to be preparing, I definitely would recommend gold and silver. Look historically. Gold and silver is tangible. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. And silver, more specifically, like it does say in this article, would be the best thing to barter with. Especially if you have junk silver, Mercury dimes, Walking Liberty half dollars, Barber quarters, because it's fractional and it's easy to carry. Gold, like it does mention, is too flashy, too high value, and a lot of times when you're bartering, things that you're trading for would not be worth the amount of gold. Gold would be something that you would be buying like a car with. Silver would be more appropriate to be bartering with for maybe some food, because you can trade a Mercury dime with 10 cents of value. It wouldn't be 10 cents of value, it'd be the 10 cents of silver inside of it, because silver has intrinsic value, but you could still barter and trade with it very easily. And junk silver is respectable because it's trusted, since it's easily known that it's government backed, so you don't have to worry about it being faked. The 10th ounce generic silver coins, or it wouldn't be called as a coin, it'd be called a round. The 10th ounce generic rounds are riskier because a lot of times these are faked, and a lot of people don't know the mint that's making those, so that's something to think about. But when you're thinking of prepping, Bitcoin would just be a very weird one, because one, most people don't have Bitcoin. Where are you going to dispense it at? Who are you going to be transacting it to? The chance of, if you're walking into a crowd of people, the chance of one of those people even knowing what Bitcoin is, or I'm sure they've heard about it, but actually understanding it, what it works, or especially of one of them having a wallet to actually get the Bitcoin and knowing how to transact it, is very, very far and few. So in a perfect world, if everyone had Bitcoin, if everyone in the world had it, then yes, it could be. If power was, on, which is also a very unlikely thing in an SHTF scenario or Armageddon, then yes, that would work. But the reality is that's not the case. So, interesting points. I didn't read this whole article through, but I'm glad that it actually made some of the points it did, because it allowed me to see the reality of some people's perspectives. This person is obviously a stock investor and probably invests in the cryptocurrencies, and actually doesn't know the fundamental values that silver and gold bring to the extent that us silver stackers do, because the opportunity that silver has, since it is so undervalued compared to gold. It didn't mention anything about silver being undervalued, what the gold to silver ratio is, how silver has been used as this for 6,000 years. I mean, there's many things that we could argue about or get the point across to show that I would not see Bitcoin as the appropriate or optional or optimal thing to come out on top, especially when you're talking about SHTF. If everything is in a perfect world and we're trying to look forward, then yes, if you want to go with Bitcoin, that's perfectly, I used to invest in Bitcoin. I still invest in Bitcoin here and there. So I've actually played the field. I spent 2 years of my life highly invested in solely Bitcoin. You guys remember I made nothing but cryptocurrency videos on this exact channel right here for 2 years. So it's not like I'm just speaking biasly because I love gold and silver. No, I've been a complete cryptocurrency investor and didn't focus anything on precious metals. And I've been on the other side. So I can speak from an actual experience terms that Bitcoin is just not the answer right now. And that's coming from someone who has invested in Bitcoin, so I cannot speak biasly on one or the other. It's a very unbiased opinion and a realistic point of view. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I'm curious what you guys think. A very, very interesting topic. Thought it was a great video to make out of, especially since we don't really talk about that stuff on this channel for certain reasons. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.